So this picture shows everything that you're going to need to do this. You're going to need a hose long enough to make it to the equipment. You're also going to need a spray nozzle of some sort, and you're going to need magic lube or some sort of seal protector. You don't need it, but it is better for stopping leaks and stuff like that, and healthier for the seal. And some way to get it off, whether it's a socket wrench or a drill. But you're going to need a 3/4 inch socket. And something else I didn't put on the picture here would be a mallet, a rubber mallet of some sort. Black is better than white because I've seen that white will leave a smudge mark as you're trying to tap it. Hello, my name is Timmy with Water Clear. Going to do a filter clean out today. And this is your filter. And first thing you're going to want to do is turn the pump off. You can do that by the app or on here. You may want to do a precaution and go ahead and turn the breakers off too, because you don't want the pump restarting on you if there is a schedule that it has for it to turn back on. The breakers are in this box. If you have automation, if you don't, it'll be a little gray box. You can just turn them all off. It doesn't matter which. You want to relieve the pressure. One important thing on this is when you go to close it back, you do not want to bear down on it hard. If you bear down on it hard, it will most likely leak if you put a lot of pressure on it. You just need to just barely turn it over. As soon as you feel it stopping, then it's done. It'll seal. So you open it up like that. It'll relieve some of the pressure. So the water will start to go down. You can open this up, and that'll start to drain out. So you could either get the size of nut that this is, or you can just put something in there. And as you're turning it, because it'll just bind against itself, and you just take it off. Now this is this has 2 hinges on it. So when you break it apart, you got to be careful, because it will, if you're not holding it good, it'll come back and hit you in the leg or something, and it doesn't feel good. You just take it, when you pop it off, you give it a little push, and it'll fall off. You just don't want it to fall towards you, because it will hurt. It's metal. So you want to move your power tools and stuff out of the way and keep your feet clear, because if it didn't drain out enough, which we know this has had plenty of time, water will splash out. You give it a little tap and then just lift it up. Lay it somewhere off to the side. And you have your filters. You want to take this off and spray it from inside out and get all this stuff off. We'll set it aside for now. Now, as long as you put this back together the same way you're taking it apart, you won't have any issues. There's a little seal on the bottom side of this. You don't want to pull up one side and bind it. You just want to pull it up together, and it'll pop right off. So the filters are sitting on a plastic thing underneath, and I'll show you that too. You just pull them out straight up, and you're going to find a place that you can clean them off one at a time. I like to use the pad, or you can use the stoop over there, and the sand will wash away. Now you can use either one of these tips. I like to use this one. It's a little bit more of a solid flow. This one is a little bit nicer because you can turn it on and off in between instead of kinking it, but you get more of a direct flow with this one. So when you're washing, you're going to just start from the top and just rinse it all out, all the way down. It don't matter if you go side to side, up or down, as long as you get all the dirt out. So once you get finished cleaning the filters, you need to take your nozzle off. I suggest to anyways, because if you don't, you're going to spray down in there. Down in here, it's actually circled, so you're going to spray, it's going to come back up and give you a good little shower. So this is what the filters sit on top of. This is just a piece of plastic. It comes out. You can rinse it off out here or in there. It doesn't really matter either way. Sometimes it's a little easier to rinse it out here, because see, sometimes stuff will get stuck on it. It's not hard to get off. You just run your fingers on it or the rag. Now, this sand will go out of there, as you can see. Now, this is probably the most important part about cleaning this filter. There are plenty of pool cleaners out there that do not like cleaning filters, and they will, I've even heard of one refusing to do it and offering to put in a different type of filter just to keep from cleaning it. So if you clean this whole thing really good and you remove every bit of sand and dirt and debris and you put it together just like I have it right now, you will have a leak guaranteed, because there's a seal right here, and if you lift it up, there's sand under there. See right here? All around. And if you don't get that sand off of this ring and off of that filter base, it will leak. Guaranteed. It only takes, you can have, I've seen it where you can have that little bit of sand and it will leak. So you want to remove all of the dirt, all of the dust or whatever, sand from all the way around. Once you do that, this is where you want your rag. You want to dry this off if you're going to be using Magic Lube. So this Magic Lube is waterproof and it's good for O-rings, gaskets, stuff like that. If you don't have access to this, you don't have to have it. It's just good to have it because you want to be able to have something to help with the sealing. It's also supposed to make the O-ring or gasket last a little bit longer. It doesn't work very well if you want to use this with it wet, because this stuff will clump up. It won't spread well because you don't want to use a whole lot and you'll get clumps everywhere. So but you put a little bit on the top and bottom. I know that probably doesn't look like a little bit, but over the whole thing, it's not that much. But all you want is a film over it, really. And this stuff will come off your hands easy. It doesn't wash off easy. You got to wipe it off. But you can feel it as you go around. It'll kind of stop you from going, and you'll tell that there's not enough there. If you run out, just put some more on it. So once I finish, you can actually see it's just a film over it. It's not a big, thick coating. You take your rag, you wipe all the way around to make sure that you don't have any dirt on there still. And then you just place this back down. So once you put that on, you want to take this, put it back in here. This goes around that part of the pipe. It does not go around that one. It won't let you anyways. It's too big. Put that there. And it rests on the little ledge. You can put them any which way you want when you put them in. I find that it's better to put one on one side and one diagonal. If you put them on both sides, sometimes it'll want to shift over. Then you're going to don't forget your little screen. You want to put it back on here. Don't stab the screen, just push it down until it stops. Each one of these will go inside the filter. You don't want to force anything. If you're forcing something, then there's something wrong. You just want to line everything up. Push down a little bit on this. And see how it just slid right down? I didn't even have to force it once everything got lined up. Now, same thing with these. Everything needs to be wiped down. See how the sand is on the top rim? Anything that creates a void or a raised area will potentially be a leak. So I'm just wiping the top and bottom at the same time right now. Now when you're putting this on, it's important to pay attention to which way you're turning it, because this is going to spray water out and you're going to need to be able to read this. So you don't want this facing your electronics. You don't want it facing your neighbor's window, or your window for that matter. So you want to be able to put it where it's okay to spray. Like this way is just going to be your bushes, and you can still read your gauge. So you line everything up. It just fell into place. You don't force it. Again, if you're forcing it, something isn't right. Now this usually doesn't have a lot of dirt in it, but it'll have some on the inside. It's just good to, you can spray it out or wipe it down. I find it, as many bends and stuff that it has, it's better to just wipe it out. Because again, these little funky angles, you can accidentally spray yourself and get pretty wet pretty quick. Now when you put it on, it doesn't really matter as far as functionality, but it looks better to have the Hayward up rather than upside down. If you have a tank that has some age to it, you do want to make a mark. I didn't do it because around here everything is new, and we do new installs. But you would want to take a mark and go from here to here and here, and in that way everything, your lid and everything will line up, because over time the heat from the sun and stuff will mold these together. But if they're fairly new, you don't have to worry about it. It is better to have a rubber mallet. I did not put that over there as one of the things to have with you, but if you have a rubber mallet, you can hit the back and the sides. You can use your hand, but it doesn't feel too good because it is metal. And then you're good. It doesn't matter which way to put this. If you look in here, that side and this side are both brass. They're both rounded off. Same thing with these. So, well, this isn't brass, but either way, they fit either way. When you tighten this together, if it ends up leaking after it's pretty tight, like I'm about to show you, most of the time you're going to have to take it back apart, re-wipe everything, and then put it back together, because there's probably something that you missed. Tightening it even tighter and tighter can work, but most of the time won't work. So you don't want to do it to the point where you break something. So if you don't have something in there, this will keep spinning. But all you have to do is put something in there like this, or the actual wrench. See, right now, maybe a little bit more. Right now it's pretty parallel. So you got about the same distance from here to here. And that's usually tight enough. We'll crank it up and see. Now you'll want to turn that. Now, I didn't mention, some of these filters don't have this. They have just a nut on here that screws out. You want to take that out. Once you clean everything, make sure your threads are clean, and then just tighten it back. You don't want to tighten it real tight. It has a rubber seal on the inside. You just tighten it with your fingers. You can take a pair of pliers and do just a little cinch to it, but don't bear down real hard. And if you don't have the thread's clean, you can end up messing up the threads. You want to make sure they're clean. If you have this on it, all you have to do is close it back. Now when you crank it back up, leave this open. While the tank is filling up, you'll hear all the air come out. And once it starts spewing water, you got the air out, then you go ahead and close it. Now one thing I didn't show right before we started the video, if it has a hose attached to it, rather than trying to get all the dirt out of the hose and everything, it's easier if you just get a 5/16 bit or a screw head, that'll usually strip. You want to use a 5/16 bit and just unscrew that and take it off. So in case you forgot, if you turned your breakers off, you're just going to come over, turn them all back on. Now you'll want to turn the pump on. While you're waiting for that to prime up, go ahead and dry off around here. So that way you can actually tell if you have a leak, because the water around the bottom will sometimes trick you into thinking you have one when you don't. Now you hear this coming out. That's the air as the water's rising. And see what I mean about facing your neighbors? Now remember, you don't want to push down on this hard. See, I barely did it. If you do, and it ain't leaking, if you do much more, you push hard, it's almost guaranteed it's going to leak. The way you can tell if it's leaking or not, put your finger over it. You'll feel it pushing the inside of where that's covering, but this isn't leaking. I would say just look at it, but in case you're wondering why you just wouldn't look at it, but this water will curl around and go other places, and you don't see it sometimes. And then you inspect all the way around to make sure that it isn't leaking anywhere. Most of the time it's going to leak. It's going to leak at this joint or one of these joints around here. It's usually at a joint, at a hinge. And that's how you clean a filter.